Welcome to the Collector's Archive. I am the Vault Keeper. Identify.
Hi, I'm Phil. I'm Plastic Craic on Twitter and Instagram.
Identity confirmed. Access granted. Switching to human interface.
We got about 10-15 minutes into it, and I was like, right, we're going to have to go back because I didn't press record. Chatting in this slot, right, so here we go. Right, good afternoon, Phil. How are we doing?
I'm not bad. How are you?
I'm splendid, thank you very much. Appreciate you taking the time out to come and join us on the Collector's Archive.
Pleasure.
Got a load of questions to fire at you, so we'll make a start. And first one's going to be, if you'd like to just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from, and any anecdotal memories you might want to just throw in there as well.
So I'm Phil. I'm from the northeast of England, South Shields, living up Newcastle way now. Been collecting figures for about 6 years now. Always remember growing up, was obsessed with toys, with collecting different figures, with playing with them, mainly Transformers, but loads of other ones. And it's just nice to be back into that now as a proper grown up, or at least in disguise as a proper grown up.
I think that's I don't know about robots in disguise, or adults in disguise, or something like that. You know, never get rid of that inner child. And why would you want to? I mean, it's I think it keeps you young and it keeps you less boring. You know, sometimes adulting's just a bit too much. It gives you a bit of an headache. So, but no, that's great. So, so can you tell us then, as a kid, what kind of things were you watching, cartoon wise, film wise, things like that?
I mean, cartoons, obviously Transformers is the big touchstone. Vividly remember repeatedly renting Transformers the movie from the library. My first memories of getting toys as a kid were Transformers toys. I remember getting the I think it was probably the reissue of G1 Wheeljack. I think it was my 8th birthday. I remember I had to ask my mum to put it by the side of my bed so I could open it as soon as I woke up, so I wasn't going to bugger for it first thing in the morning. Used to watch the real Ghostbusters, Turtles. Again, I can just remember certain episodes. I remember an episode of Ghostbusters where they got evil clones made out of the ectoplasm, and then buy a house. And I don't know why, it just sticks with me. I think it's because it terrified me as a child.
Yeah,
but I love those figures as well. With the twirly proton packs and Starcom, all sorts. I just used to love anything which was tactile, which had, I guess, what's called the fiddle factor, where with Transformers, obviously you get that where you could play with it and mess around, and absolutely obsessed with that sort of thing in childhood, and I think it's possibly carried over a little bit.
Yeah. So were you a child then? Are you a child of like the mid 80s then?
Yeah, well, I was born in 83, so I'm 40 this year.
Right.
So I was just the right age for the Turtles craze, for the post Transformers, the movie waves of Transformers.
Yeah.
Starcom. I don't know, did you ever collect Starcom when you were...
No, I didn't, but I think this cropped up in a conversation I had with... And I also picked up, I don't know what it's called, but it was a Starcom figure. It was a black suit with a gold helmet. And it was, I don't know why I picked it up, but that was the only one I had. They were just on the shelf, and I can remember picking it up and getting that. Magnetic feet, didn't they?
Yes, and I think they had magnetic feet which stuck to the sides of the ships. But I think anyone who's had Starcom, they can probably hear the sound that the mechanism makes in their head. It's so distinct. Mask as well. I used to absolutely love Mask. That was Mask and Transformers, I think, were the main two when I was a kid.
Yeah. As a kid, I didn't watch the Mask cartoon. I didn't see that. I can remember seeing it on the telly, but I didn't watch it. I remember the theme tune.
I don't think much compared to how good the toys were. I don't think the cartoon's a classic. Well, it doesn't stick my head the same way anyway.
No, I mean I'm probably going to piss off a lot of people by saying this, but I have fond memories of the Transformers cartoon. But in retrospect, looking back, it ain't that great. The cartoon was on sporadically through childhood when I was growing up, and it just So I didn't see that much of it to get that much invested in it. I loved
Yeah,
it at the time.
Cartoon, but I'm not sure if I'd watched it as an adult without having seen it as a child that it would have the same effect. But I think that's true for a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, there's still the odd episode I'll enjoy, like SOS Dinobots, and I do enjoy More Than Meets. I still call it Arrival from Cybertron because of the video, but you know, More Than Meets the Eye Part 1, 2, and 3, and like Ultimate Doom and things. But there's hardly any episodes from the second season I've seen, and third season I've just no idea about the third season at all. But there was some good stuff. So while you're watching all these, I take it then. So it was a bit later, as you say, because I know you mentioned the reissue of Wheeljack. So that would have been the classics, were it? The gold packet?
I think so. It would have been in around about 1991.
Yeah. So I think, it'd been...
vividly remember getting that Wheeljack figure. I remember probably the first one I got would have been the movie Ultra Magnus figure.
Right.
I think that one, and I think Rodimus Prime would have been the first Transformers toys I can remember getting, along with maybe one of the little aerial bots, like possibly Scattershot. One of the first ones I can really remember having and opening.
Oh, cool. So, like I was going to say then, so you're watching these cartoons. What, you know, as you laid there watching them, what are the toys you're playing with then? Is it the Transformers, or is it something else? Like, you know, you've already mentioned what are you playing with as a kid while you sat watching your cartoons?
I mean, obviously Transformers would be favorite, but I don't think it wasn't all encompassing in terms of what I played with as a child. I've already mentioned like the Ghostbusters figures, like the car which turned into the praying mantis was absolutely awesome. I used to love, even before Transformers, was Thundercats. I had loads of Thundercats figures. I remember getting, I think, was he called Jaga? The mentor. I used to.
Oh yeah, Jaga,
that Hammer Hand.
Right.
I used to have all these figures, Visionaries. So I just used to like a lot of different things. I can remember the toys that I had as a kid more than I remember the cartoons I watched as a kid.
Yeah. The GoBots have come up now and again, and I remember having GoBots toys, but never saw the cartoon.
Visionaries, Silver Jet, and I think that's the only GoBots toy I had, but I couldn't tell you what he was called.
Was it Leader One? Was it like an F-15? Did it look like Starscream?
Tiny little F-15 jet.
Yeah, Leader One. He was like the leader. He was the leader of the good guys. Visionaries, I never. They passed me by. I remember seeing the backup strip in the Transformer comic, but I never read it. I never used to read the backup strips. It were always just the main Transformers story. But were it some kind of hologram or something?
Yeah.
Was it on the chest, or was it on the were it on the shield?
There wasn't the one called Centurions as well, which were hologram based figures. I can't remember. Visionaries did have the hologram, because I remember I got this massive vehicle, which Visionaries turned into animals, didn't they? And I think it was on the staff and the shield, and you put it inside the vehicle, and the hologram was an animal on the outside of the vehicle.
Right.
I wanted that so long, and I remember getting it for Christmas, and then I don't remember anything about it afterwards, so I must have been a bit overwhelmed by it. Right.
I wonder what the other ones are then, because I do remember seeing some figures which, excuse me, one of them, it had like a cloak or something, and it was just a hologram for the head and the torso.
Yes.
But I can't remember what they
Centurions?
Were. No, the Centurions, they were like the Power Extreme thing, weren't they, where they had all the stuff bolting on them.
But I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, it was like a black, entire black body and head, and it had like a skeleton hologram when you tilted it.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
well, if you're in the live chat now while this is being aired and you know the answer, someone type that down and let us know what it is. But but like I say, the Visionaries were the one with the staff, weren't they? Moving on from that, then, what would you say is your favorite? What was your favorite toy as a kid out of all these things that you had?
I used to love the main Starcom ship. You could take the fighter jets off the wings, and they were independent, and everything just clipped in magnetically. It had the storage area at the back. I said before, that noise when the storage area activated, it's just imprinted onto me mind. Ultra Magnus and Hot Rod, the Transformers figures as a kid, I used to absolutely love. I've got really strong memories of G1 Onslaught as well, of getting him. So I'm not sure I could pick an exact favourite figure out of all them. It's just really strong memories are tied to each of them.
Yeah.
I think my childhood and these various figures which I loved and still love just pop up when I'm thinking about it. So think of ones which have just affected me, but I don't think I had like one all-time favourite toy that I had growing up.
No. Did you do the thing where if you went out anywhere that you took one with you?
Oh, I think so, yeah. In my pocket.
So like, just like if you're nipping with your mum or dad to the shops or something, or you went around visiting or something, you all said, you took one with you, like popped in your pocket and things.
I went up to Scotland last year and took Siege Optimus Prime. Doesn't change.
So, can you remember what a last toy or game or something before you started moving on?
I think with the age which I grew up in, I was a kid when Nintendo released the NES, and then the Mega Drive came out, and that was all quite new. So I think toys must have moved away to video games at that point.
Right.
The last sort of toy line I really remember getting was remember back when Woolworths sold toys of inappropriate films. Like they used to sell Terminator toys and Aliens, to kids. These 18-rated films, and they're selling toys of them. I remember the Terminator figures where the chest popped off and he was battle damaged.
Right.
I was really excited, and this is probably the last thing I remember getting as a kid, was I was really excited to get the T800 factory. And you got these little plastic endoskeletons, and you covered them in this goo that you mix together, and it's set, and it had human flesh on, and you could take your little plastic scalpel and take these battle damaged Terminators, and it was dreadful. It was like soup which didn't stick to them. And I just remember being so disappointed with that, and I don't actually remember anything after that in terms of collecting or buying or playing with figures. So I think I was probably on the cusp of being too old as a child then, and probably more interested in buying Mega Drive games than figures. So that's really the last things I can remember with the sort of the Terminator lines which they used to sell. Right.
So after moving on, then you've got your wilderness years where you're doing like adulting stuff and this, that, and other. When did you come back to collecting then? What when did that start, and what were the kind of the circumstances that brought you to it?
Funny, because when I was in my 20s, I remember my brother who also collects. I remember him buying one of the Takara reissues of Megatron and Soundwave. I remember going like, you spent £60 on a toy. I was like, why'd you do that for? And then about in Christmas 2016, my wife bought me a Titans Return Soundwave figure. And because I'd mentioned like I never had Soundwave as a kid. I'd always still been into Transformers. I enjoyed the movies, the new movies for what they were. Still got a soft spot for the first one. And I was always kind of into the brand and the characters. And I mentioned I didn't have a Soundwave, and she surprised me with a Titans Return Soundwave at Christmas, and that was it. I had it in my hand, and I hadn't had bought a new toy for a long time. And I decided, well, that's nice. I thought, well, he's not got a cassette to go with him. So I went to Tesco's and got Laserbeak.
Right.
And they had, it was when Tesco's they had some of the Titans Return on clearance, and they had Astro Train for a tenner. I'll just pick him up as well. There's a toy shop. It's called Smith's. I've took my kids there. I thought, I'll go and have a look in there. Oh, look at that Starscream, Leader Class Combiner Starscream. I'll just have him as well. And now I went they started building up on my table with my speakers on it, and they started building up. And I was like, I said to my wife, I was like, I think it's not very neat. This, I think I might just buy a small bookcase from B&M. So I went on a bookcase. I started buying a few more, and then by the next Christmas, so after collecting for a year, she got me a Masterpiece Toys R Us version Bumblebee.
Right.
Because I thought, oh, it's £50. I don't know whether I want to spend £50 on one toy. I'm just laughing in hindsight here. I thought, I don't think I want to spend £50 on one toy. So she got it for Christmas. So I thought, oh, that's nice. I wasn't bothered about scale. I wasn't bothered about collecting one line over the other. I thought I always loved Bumblebee when I was a kid, so I'll just have that little one there. Yeah. And then I also sort of joining a few Facebook groups for buying and selling. And it was like I started seeing what was actually out there. Wheeljack. I remember Wheeljack from when I was a kid really vividly. So Masterpiece Wheeljack, I'll just buy that one. And it just went from there. The year that 6 months into starting, 3 months into starting, I lost my mum. Right. And I've always had I've always wanted to collect things. Before toys, I had an entire room full of CDs, and had about 2,500 albums on CDs from when I used to work in record shops. And when I had my kids, we needed the big room for the kids, and I thought, I can do without now. We've got streaming and we've got iPods, and I thought that's fine. I can let that go. And then when I started collecting toys, and then I lost my mum, it kind of gave me something nice to focus on, which was a positive thing. Yeah. And it was like, right, especially if you're having a bad time, then I think it's nice to give yourself little boosts and things which make you feel good. Obviously, some people can get into a destructive pattern, and I think giving yourself nice things to focus on, it really helps. And it certainly helped me. And as I got into the Masterpiece side, like a year later, I started replacing the mainline stuff with Masterpiece figures. Sold off all my mainline figures. Thought, right, I'll just get Masterpiece. Then my wife she's really into Marvel. Yeah. And you collect all these toys. Is there a small Iron Man I can get? Right. So I said, I don't know. So I started looking into it and discovered Big Arts. And then me and my wife started collecting Marvel together. Right. So we ended up with half Transformers, a couple of odds and ends of other films and things, and then half a Marvel collection as well for comics and MCU. Yeah. So that which we're looking at together. And then it's just kind of progressed. I got back into buying some of the mainline. I thought I've got a lot of the Masterpiece I want. There's some really cool mainline out there, especially recently. Got really into Transformers Animated, watched Prime, thought I'd pick up a couple of them. And it just kind of progressed through. That's felt like quite a natural progression from starting to where I am now. Yeah. Enjoyable, still enjoyable. Don't feel like it's I don't feel like I've hunted too much for things. I know some people can get quite focused on one thing and not stop till they get it, but I just find the whole thing quite enjoyable.
It's an enjoyable pursuit, and I think it's maybe a more positive pursuit than the alternatives that you could, I'd say, waste your money on. You know, whether it's drinking, drugs.
No one bats an eye when people spend £100 on a night out, though.
No.
And I love football.
Yeah.
Love football. People are obsessed with football, and they collect loads of football stuff. Yeah. But then that's seen as completely separate to a different type of collection. I don't know. I don't understand it. I think humans, we enjoy things, don't we? And, people get different things, but it's a strange one. Like I said, like you said, there's worse things to spend your money on, and there's certainly more destructive things to spend your money on than things which bring you a bit of joy.
Yeah. So you've mentioned then the next question following that would have been, what the figure or it was that you picked up when you got back into collecting. Well, you mentioned that, but what is it now then that shapes you're collecting? You know, what's the motivations behind it?
I think with Masterpiece, I just want good versions of the characters that I remember from the Transformers G1 cartoon, and I'm definitely at a point now where I've got most of what I want, and I'm just upgrading to get better versions. So I swapped out Make Toys Downbeat for the Fans Toys Jive for my Jazz. It's it's a bit better. It's nicer, undeniably, but it's an upgrade as opposed to a new thing. I'm motivated a lot now by will I be able to take a good photo of it? Do I like how it looks? Yeah. I've got a few figures which don't really fit in to any category, which I've just got because I think they look really cool. Because I like the look of them, I like to mess with them. Figures which I like to photograph, and stuff which I'm interested in as well. So I've recently went quite in on the Transformers animated line. I missed Transformers animated. Didn't pay it any attention when it came out. So I've started watching that, really enjoying it. Toys are absolutely magnificent. I don't understand how you can have toys which are like 17 years old, which have no compromise in both modes, look incredible, opposable, transform simply. So discovering that has been fantastic over the last year. Getting figures which I totally ignored. One, because I thought I wasn't watching a kid's cartoon then. I was like, I was watching the grown-up movie then. And then also because I wasn't collecting toys at that point. So to start collecting them has been fantastic. Yeah.
Well, where are we? So out of your current collection then, and all the things that I can see behind you, which is pretty awesome, to be honest, do you have a favourite piece in your current collection?
Not one. There's a couple you can't see up there, which I really like. Studio Cell Unicron was just like a childhood dream realized. I've got Earthrise Scorponok up there, which Scorponok was another toy which was one of my absolute favorites. In fact, I don't know why I didn't mention it before when you were talking about my favorite toy. Scorponok. And have you seen the Tactical Commander G.I. Joe Optimus Prime, the nuclear blast one?
Oh, yes. It's like a long missile truck.
I've got him. He's amazing. I've brought a couple out. Yeah. Just for my sort of current favourites at the moment. Yeah. So I've got DX9 Terror.
Right.
With the Doctor Who scythe, which is absolutely amazing. That was one of the only ones I'd say I've been obsessed about getting. That's because I bought them on a buying and selling group. And every the horror formerly known as Hermes lost him. Right. So I really had to get one after that. So I tracked him down. One of my I've got quite a few Optimus Prime figures. Between 25 and 30. And one of my top sort of three is Optus Pexus, the MMC figure. Just the most poseable, brilliant figure. There's only one or two more, don't worry.
No. I'm happy for the show and tell.
On the non-Transformer, we've got Mayfix RoboCop. It's just one of the most beautifully realised 1/12 scale figures I've seen. He comes with all the battle damage parts, and that was a sort of grail item for a while. And then some Italian website got him in stock, and I had him straight away. And then probably like two of the most recent ones I've picked up are animated figures. So I was at the TFN Minicon in Manchester, and Toy Foo, who are an amazing charity that do work for Mary's Meals, providing school children with meals. All the profits go to charity. They had loads of animated figures, and they said, have you seen this adventure variant of Lockdown? I've never heard of it. It's a Japanese-only release for the Robots in Disguise 2015 redeco with this massive Decepticon symbol on his chest, so he looks like the Punisher. Absolutely magnificent figure. And I just got animated Prowl as well. And I thought, I'm never going to find him for a decent price. So I bought the Legacy one, and 2 days later, I saw him for a decent price. And I like the Legacy one on its own merits, but in terms of how he poses and how he transforms, it's night and day with a toy that's 17 years old. Right. It's so much better. Yeah. And obviously it's got the aesthetic of the cartoon down. So yeah, they're a couple of me favourites, which aren't too big to wrestle down from the top of the cabinets.
Right. Yeah.
I think if I had to pick one or two to kind of think, right, pick one or two and the rest go, maybe Acoustic Wave if I only had one Transformer, because it's Soundwave, and being able to have a figure of Unicron, which looks like Unicron and can pose so well. That was like an absolute childhood dream. That.
Yeah. No, I'm right with you on that one. I have the Studio Cell Unicron, and it's beautiful. It really is nice. But if I might just ask you a game about your RoboCop, because I'm sharking at the minute for another Robo, because I've still got the old. I mean, God knows how old it is now, but it's the old Movie Maniacs RoboCop. And so, how big is that then? Is that 7-8 inch?
6.
It's 6.
Have you got Optus Plexus?
I don't have Optus Plexus. No. No.
I mean, Plexus is about 8 inches.
Right.
General MMC sort of scale.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's 1/12, so I guess half the size of a Hot Toys. But he comes with the battle damaged cut mask, headpiece. He has an opening, like the holster part of his leg comes off, and you can clip on an opening holster for his leg, and some bloosh effects for the gun. But he's you can get RoboCop 1, 2, or 3 from Mayfix or Mafex. I'm never sure how to pronounce it, so I'll just go with Mayfix because it seems the most natural to me when I see it.
Yeah.
2 looks really good as well. 3 comes with the jetpack, and RoboCop 3 was terrible, so I was never going to get that one. No. But that's the first film version.
Right.
I've got their Terminator as well. The T-800's just, it's insanely good from the assault on the police station scene.
Yeah.
So they make some really good figures. Sometimes they make the best figures ever, and sometimes you get a figure where if you look at it wrong, its leg will fall off. Luckily, RoboCop is a really, really, really good one from them. So
so you'd recommend that then? You'd recommend the Mayfix one?
Yeah,
because I did look. Is it NECA that's just done one with the chair that he sits in and things?
Yeah, I mean NECA I think they're good for what they are. They're not massively posable. They're priced really reasonably. I've got the NECA Ed 209,
right?
And the RoboCop. But in terms of like the sculpt and the materials and how posable it is, I wouldn't pick it over the Mayfix one.
No, well, what put me off the NECA one was I saw some promotion photos of when he's got the helmet off, and it's Alex Murphy, and I didn't like the face sculpt. It had that bit of uncanny valley, they call it, about it, and it put me off. Which is odd, really, because I can't ever see me having it put on the shelf with the mask off anyway.
Mayfix do faces really well. I wasn't going to go into cabinets while we're doing this, but I'm going to.
No, it's fine.
A couple of them which I think they've absolutely nailed. So we've got like Terminator there.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's actually in focus, but that's spot on. Homelander from The Boys as well.
Right.
So they do faces. They do likenesses on faces really well. Like I said, some of the figures have some QC issues, but you do a bit of research on whether that figure you're buying is one of the ones which has the QC issue, then you should be absolutely fine.
Yeah. No, excellent. What's next on your radar then? What's next that's going on your shelf? Any pre-orders? Anything that's you're waiting for to come out for?
I've got the new Magic Square lighter piece, the metallic painted with die-cast Optimus Prime. I've got that on order because I love the new Masterpiece scale Magic Square Prime figure. I would quite like to see what it's like painted, so I've ordered that. I made a little list of animated figures which I'm looking for. We want to pick up a Blitzwing and a Lugnut. So yeah, I think they're the next sort of things I've got is just have a look for some of the animated figures that I don't have.
Yeah.
Check out the painted version of probably the best Optimus Prime figure I've ever owned. And I'm sure I'll find something else along the way.
So it'll take your eye. So you just talking about the Magic Square one then. How do you personally feel it compares up to MP44?
I've got the Kia MP44, so I can't talk about the fully painted with trailer official one. In terms of the figure, I prefer it. The backpack on 44 never really bothered me too much at all. But seeing the Magic Square one and how it poses and how it articulates it's lovely. It really is. My version was missing outward soft leg ratchet, which was a bit annoying. And the website I bought it off were amazing, and they sent me like an entire abdomen for them. But I don't. I think it would be too much surgery to replace it, considering that it doesn't affect anything at all. But for posability, a lot of my stuff, like I said, I like taking photos. I'm a big fan. If you've seen my Instagram of the sort of clean promotional style shots. And the Magic Square photographs incredibly well, poses incredibly well, and looks just like Optimus Prime. So I can't wait to see what they do with a little bit of paint and some die cast. But if it turns out not for me, then it's the other one's still brilliant.
Right. I might look at that painted Magic Square one. It's like I say, I've got the first version.
First version's good. The new one blows it out the water. I've had them both. The old one's very toy-like.
Yeah, I do like this version, but it's more. I view this as more of a standalone Optimus because of the heroic proportions. It's more like it's more. It's got that heroic stature to it. Where I've got the KO MP44, and in line with my other masterpiece figures, I like it because it is a little bit more slender.
I do think personally, and I know some people disagree with me, but I think Magic Square does it better than 44. But I know some people disagree, and a lot of people like the weight of the 44. Magic Square, it's light as a feather. It really is. So I'm really interested to see what's like with a bit of die cast in it on the reissue.
Yeah, I might pick one up and see what it's like. I suppose it's good to get your hands on it to see for yourself, because you can look at 1,001 photos all day long. Until you've actually handled it and had it in hand.
Which look great in photos, which look terrible in real life as well. So it's got to make your own mind up.
Yeah, definitely. So, do you have a Grail item that you chase?
I've always said that I've never really had anything which I'd class as a Grail. And then I started collecting the animated figures. So now I think the two things, one, I'd maybe be able to get one day, one's no chance. I'd love to have an animated Blackout. I had a look at one in person a few weeks ago, and it's just beautiful. And the animated Stunticon BotCon set.
Right.
Motormaster and the Stunticons. I don't know if you've seen that. It was like an exclusive set from 2011 or something. And I think it was about £300, and now it's going for about £600 for the 5 figures.
Right.
I'm resigned to the fact I'm never getting that, unfortunately. So I'd say they are probably the ones which I'd class as Grail items now. Everything else I've been lucky enough that I've been able to find the things I've wanted in a reasonable time frame. So I think I've actually been quite lucky with that, with collecting. Yeah. But they have popped in as Grail items now, definitely.
Right. No, I only had 2. I had Bumble Jumper, which I managed to pick up. Oh, is it 4, maybe 5 years ago? And that's in good condition, and that's in a little plastic case up on my shelf. And then the other one wasn't a Transformer; it was an Action Force item. It was the Escape Armor from Action Force from 1984. One I remember seeing numerous times on the shelf, but never got around to getting. So I was happy when I managed to pick that up. But I know it's a term that not everyone's comfortable with, saying like a Grail item. But I think sometimes you have to put a label on something sometimes.
I just don't think before there was anything which I wanted, which I thought it's going to be impossible for me to get.
Yeah.
But I think with those two, there's a very low likelihood of me getting them.
Yeah. You never know. You never know.
You're right. You never know.
One day.
I'm very much looking forward to getting the MMC Devastator set. It's possibly the only thing I'm going to consider buying 2 of each.
Right.
One big Devastator, one to have as robots or vehicles. Yeah. That, considering how good the Protector bots have been with First Aid and Streetwise,
yeah,
I think they're going to knock it out of the park.
Yeah, I'm not decided yet. I don't know which way I'm going to go on the Devastator Wars. I have Toy World Constructor. I have the box set. Individual robots, I personally feel the more in line with like the Chug kind of look and style. But when combined, I'd say it's definitely a masterpiece looking, and it scales. I think it scales really well with MP36. There's a good scale going off there. We know that MMC have shown us renders of their first one. X-Transbots have shown us, I think it's a pre-production sample. I think it was Scrapper, I think it was. I'm pretty sure Takara, Fans Toys, will be working on them. You know, they've yet to show the hand. So I haven't quite decided yet which way I'm going to go. I do want another Devastator, mainly because I want some masterpiece looking individual robots.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. Is I'd love to have that. As Devastator, I've got the Combiner Wars one on the top, and I still think it's a fantastic figure as long as it just stands there looking imposing.
Yeah,
I'd love the actual robots. I don't think a lot of them in their actual robot form, so I'd quite like some masterpiece style Constructicons without being Devastator. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
So, exciting times, like I said, lots of choice.
It is. I've got a couple of pre-orders on at the moment for X-Transbots, Runabout and Runamok. Now, normally they'd fall out of my collecting remit, but I just like the look of the figure and the car mode, you know, from the renders that we've seen at the moment. I've also got on pre-order the Omnibots.
Yeah.
From X-Transbots, you know, because I just like the look of the style that they've gone for. But again, like I say, out of my collecting remit, but I think they'd look nice on the shelf. So moving on from your core collection, which you've said is Transformers, and then there's some Marvel stuff in there with your wife and that. Are there any other interests outside of that core collecting focus which you are drawn to? I mean, I know you've kind of answered this in a part because you've shown us the Mayfix stuff that you've got there, but I don't know if you want to embellish on that a bit more. And you know, is there anything else as well as that catches your eye and you find yourself picking up?
If we're talking toys, I probably, when I started collecting before I got as many Masterpiece Transformers, I was just on Transformers until that time when my wife decided she wanted an Iron Man figure. And that's when I thought maybe I could get some toys which aren't Transformers. So I started getting some of the Dark Knight figures from the Christopher Nolan films, and then Predator, Alien. So that was when I sort of started branching out away from Transformers, was as soon as my wife said she wanted to start collecting some Marvel. Now I think I've probably reined that in to the point where it's mainly Transformers and Marvel with a couple of extras. I've still got the Batman stuff, the Homelander and John Wick, Terminator. I've got a couple of Mezcos like Predator. But mainly
Mezco. Oh, sorry. I mean, every time someone says Mezco, I want the pink skulls, but I just can't. Maybe it's the Yorkshireman in me. I just can't open my wallet for them because they're just stupid prices, but they look gorgeous.
I did have the NECA Predator, and I replaced him with the Mezco one, and it's got poor articulation for a figure that expensive, especially in the ankles, but it's beautiful. but now, because I'm obviously, you've only got a finite amount of space, I prioritised and thought, right, well, I want to keep the Marvel, keep the Transformers. So that's mainly where that lies. In terms of not toys, I love photography. I bought my first proper camera so I could take some better photos of my action figures, and then through that, when I got a slightly better camera to take family photos as well, I started getting into nature photography a lot. So I've just got a few lenses, which is like that's not really a collection as such, but but I have the lenses that I need to do everything I want. So I've got one for landscape, one for insects and tiny close-ups of flowers and stuff.
Right.
I've got one for shooting wildlife and stuff which I can use for me family. So yeah, that's mainly the photographing figures and wanting to take some decent photos of figures ended up getting me into, other great passion at the moment, which is just general photography.
Yeah.
So funny how it all comes around and works out.
It is, yeah. But I'm still working on my photo technique. I mean, we chatted before we started recording, and you gave me some good tips. So I'm gonna maybe try and incorporate those into me, going forward.
I feel like I'm learning all the time, and this year, I've never believed in New Year's resolutions, but this year I thought, right, I'm going to make an effort to do something better. So I thought, like, I feel like I'm comfortable doing macro shots and insects and wildlife and stuff. If I feel like I'm comfortable with that, but what I'm not good at is landscape photography and taking these beautiful sweeping shots and moving water. So I've got myself a tripod and a wide angle lens. So I'm trying to get better at that.
Yeah.
Then what I found was I spent a Christmas Eve down on the morning at Newcastle Quayside. It was a beautiful day. Took photos of the Tyne Bridge and the Millennial Bridge and the views. And because I wasn't used to taking in with such a closed aperture, it showed up all the dust.
Right.
Specs. And I thought, I've just spent hours down here. Every photo's got dust on it. So I started researching editing software, because before I never really edited my pictures. I just kind of boosted exposure and stuff on the iPhone. Yeah. And I ended up subscribing to Lightroom. Only like 50 quid for a year. And I was just like, beep, press that bit of dust, it disappears. Press that bit of dust and it disappears. And then has all these tutorials for how to edit different photos. So I've started teaching myself editing. So now I can see, even looking back at me toy photos on the Plastic Craic account a year ago, the consistency in my photos and the colors and the exposure compared to now, it's night and day. And it's because I'm trying to teach myself that. And I guess if I wasn't interested in it, it would be a bit hard to do. But I'm like just trying to get better all the time and trying to make changes to learn, because it's not my profession, it's something I do for fun.
Yeah.
And something to get better at.
Yeah. I agree. My ethos is I want to try and make my next photo better than the one that I took previously, or at least try and make them as good as good, or at least some. I
want them to look like, especially the new figures. I want them to look like they're not just bits of plastic. Like I don't go in for I don't have the dioramas, or I don't sort of Photoshop backgrounds on or use computer screen backgrounds, but I want them to look like they're posed in a way which a person would stand. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand.
I tend to focus on making them look natural, like they're not a toy, like a person would stand or how a person would point. And I'm quite fiddly with that sort of thing. Yeah. And I like just tweaking the focus. So I think, right, I just want that to be slightly more in focus because he's got his arm behind him. And if that's slightly out of focus, so that's kind of where I spend my time on the photos, because obviously the back very simplistic, clean white backgrounds, because that's what I like for my pictures. And I fully respect anyone who takes really complex shots, but not for me. So yeah, I want to make sure that they look natural, and that's my focus when I'm photographing.
Yeah. No, it's a good way to go. My own personal influence was years ago, back when I first got back into collecting, there was a book by J.E. Alvarez called The Unofficial Guide to Transformers. And I liked the way that the figures were photographed in that book. And that's kind of stuck with me. I also like the way that toys would be photographed in toy catalogs back in the 80s, you know, like the late 70s and 80s. So that those are my influences. So my photos are always quite static, heroic kind of single pose shots, because that's what my influence has been, and that's what I'm looking to get out of it. I'm the same. I'd love to be able to do the whole dramatic diorama action kind of shot, but I haven't the time, and I don't think I've got the patience for it, because I've seen some tutorials on YouTube of people doing them, and we're talking hours for just one shot.
And there's a lot of very good people out there doing it. So enjoy
Yes.
the work and do what's right for you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're almost at the end, Phil. So this part of the video now is handing over to you for a minute or two to pimp yourself. Tell us where we can find you, you know, your social media outlets, etc. So off you go.
Yeah, so my Instagram is instagram.com/_plastic_crack_. And Twitter is just at plastic_crack. Instagram tends to just be my photos, unless it's like in the stories. Twitter, I find it's a bit more easy to connect with people and talk to people on there. But yeah, I just always like chatting about toys.
Mm-hmm. No, fantastic. Thank you. Well, thank you for participating. Thanks for chatting. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for telling us about your journey and the stuff and things that you had during childhood. And hopefully we'll speak to you again. But for now, thank you. Take care and all the best.
Look after yourself. Thanks.
You too. Cheers, Phil. Goodbye.
Thank you for accessing the Collector's Archive. To enable return access, please select the like, subscribe, and notification icons. Transmission terminated.